Welcome. I'm Jeanette Tolosa with Fredericksburg Area Council on Transition. Welcome to the presentation on pre-employment transition services hosted by FACT. This evening, we are very grateful to have with us our guest speaker, Patti Hodge. She currently serves as the statewide transition specialist for staff development at the Department for Aging and Rehabilitative Services, or DARS. So in this role, Patti and the entire DARS transition team are responsible for supporting DARS staff, our educational partners, and let's see, is Pat, oh good, Patti, you're there. I didn't see you for a second. Students, families, and other stakeholders, community partners, to improve post-secondary outcomes for students with disabilities. Patti has a background in providing educational and vocational services to students and adults with disabilities. Her career in this field is over 20 years as a special education paraprofessional, employment specialist, job coach, job placement counselor, district pre-employment transition services counselor, regional transition specialist, and a work-based learning specialist. And Patti holds a Master's of Arts in Rehabilitation Counseling from George Washington University and a Bachelor of Liberal Studies from the University of Mary Washington. And she also is a certified rehabilitation counselor. So without further ado, I will pass it on to Patti.
Thank you, Jeanette. That's quite the introduction. Yeah, I've been doing this for a long time, and so and I'm so young, so I started working when I was 12. So, but it's nice to be here with you all tonight. And as Jeanette said, I am the pre-employment transition or the transition specialist statewide here at DARS, the Department for Aging and Rehabilitative Services. But I also wanted to introduce my counterpart at the Division for Blind and Vision Impaired, who's here this evening. Becky, if you want to introduce yourself, and Becky is going to have some add-ons to after my presentation. She'll give some DBVI information too. Go ahead, Becky.
Absolutely, and you are too kind for allowing me to join in on this conversation. I'm kind of on the coattails. I'm so grateful. My name is Becky Keller. I apologize, my video is not working this evening. With my bandwidth at home, you wouldn't hear any of me. So I apologize. But I am with the Department for the Blind and Vision Impaired, sister organization with DARS, and we also provide pre-employment transition services through our department for individuals who are blind, vision impaired, and deaf-blind. And I'm glad to be here.
Thanks for being here, Becky. So y'all, I am super laid back. This is an opportunity for you all to ask questions, and I would not be offended if you want to stop me as I'm presenting to ask questions while the question is fresh. If you prefer to wait until the end and ask questions too, that's totally up to you. But I always find it beneficial to be asking those questions as they come up. So please do feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions as they come up. And we will stop and answer your questions as we have them. So I'm going to share my screen and show you this lovely PowerPoint presentation that I have for you. Hopefully everybody can see my cover slide for overview of the DARS Pre-ETS program. Real quick, just to give an overview, I don't want to assume that everybody knows what DARS is. So before I talk about Pre-ETS, I want to talk about what DARS is. We are the Virginia Department for Aging and Rehabilitative Services, as Jeanette said earlier. My agency is actually the Division of Rehabilitative Services. So we are not the aging side, we are the rehabilitative side. And we are a federally mandated program, vocational rehabilitation, which means that every state has vocational rehabilitation and it's overseen at the federal level. And what all VR agencies do is we assist individuals with disabilities to prepare for, enter, and maintain employment. So everything that we do at DARS is focused on employment, and participation in our program is voluntary. So schools and DARS have a relationship. We have a common goal of successful employment outcomes. Our public school systems are judged on the post-secondary outcomes of the students who go through the public school system, as is DARS judged on our employment outcomes. So we are always working together to try to make sure that we're providing the services that are necessary to our students while they're still in school to enhance those successful employment outcomes. There are federal regulations that require schools and DARS to work together so that the delivery of these pre-employment transition services that I'm about to tell you about can be delivered within the educational setting. And these services are they are there to supplement the transition services that are being provided already at the schools. Our services are not there to supplant what the schools are doing. So we're there to enhance those transition services. Think of it as a connection. Schools are teaching students about all the things that they need to know about transition from the school and the education standpoint. And then DARS comes in to make those connections from what they're learning in the classroom and connecting that information to the world of work. Okay. And so, as I mentioned before, these services are meant to work in conjunction with the school's existing transition services. And these services, all services at DARS, are always based on the student's individual needs. So what are pre-employment transition services, or Pre-ETS? These services, and we'll go into details about what exactly Pre-ETS are, but just as a general overview, this is an early start at developing those employability skills, and it's getting students to start thinking about what the world of work might be and start identifying those career interests and motivating them to think about what's going to happen after high school is over. This program is only for students with disabilities. They do not have to be a traditional DARS client. So let me explain. Traditionally, before pre-employment transition services existed, a person only received DARS services by completing an application, completing an intake appointment with a DARS counselor, and being found eligible for services before they could even receive services. That is not the case with just the pre-employment transition services. With Pre-ETS, it's a simple onboarding process, just so students with disabilities can start receiving these services as soon as possible. And I'll explain more about that in detail in just a minute. So as mentioned before, I just want to make clear that this is a collaboration. In order to make these services work, we need a collaboration with the students, families, schools, and other community service providers that we work together with as well to help us provide these services. It's a true collaboration. So Pre-ETS may be provided to students who are at least age 14. So beginning at age 14, usually that lines up here in Virginia at the same time as those transition IEPs are starting to be written. So that is why it is 14 here in Virginia. Federal regulations say that we need to start working with students as early as age 16. But in Virginia, we made it even earlier due to the IEP transition plan starting at 14. Also, to be able to receive these services, a student must be either receiving special education services and have an IEP, or they could have a Section 504 plan, or they need to provide some other documentation of disability to prove that they have a disability and can be served under this program. So let's say, for instance, we work with students who are homeschooled and maybe they don't have an IEP or a 504 plan, but they do have a psychological evaluation or some documentation from a licensed professional that says that they have a diagnosis. And with that information, we can open a case for a student and provide these services. All right, so that is who qualifies to participate. Anyone can refer a student to participate in these services. Students can be referred by the school, by their parents, by other service provider. Of course, a parent or guardian, legal guardian, will have to sign the consent form. But as far as referral goes, anybody can make that referral. Typically, your school's case manager, your student's case manager, or even the transition specialists or coordinators at the schools will have our Pre-ETS consent form, and typically these services are discussed at IEP time. But if not, you can always reach out to your local DARS office and get connected that way as well. So all we need is that signed consent form and some documentation of disability. And once those two documents are received, then we can start working with a student. All right, so we're going to talk about the 5 required Pre-ETS activities. So before I get into those details, just want to pause for a second and make sure we're good. Is everybody with me? Does anybody have any questions so far?
I was going to ask for clarification about homeschool students, and you had already answered the question. So thank you for that information.
That's because I'm so thorough, Jeanette.
You are. There was a family who asked, and I was going to ask on their behalf, and you already answered. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yes, we do serve all students, whether they're homeschooled. Previously I have worked with full-on private schools that are not connected to the public school system. And they don't, the students that I worked with there didn't have IEPs, but they did have documentation of disability. So as long as we have that, something signed by a licensed professional, we can get them started. All right. So we'll move into the 5 required Pre-ETS activities. They're all listed there on the screen, but don't worry about memorizing those because we're going to talk about them one by one. The first Pre-ETS activity is job exploration counseling, and I call this the first Pre-ETS activity only because, in my experience, this is a great place to start when I'm first working with a student, just to get to know them a little bit better and kind of determine where to go with services from there. So with job exploration counseling, this is an opportunity to really speak with a student about, start fostering that motivation for them to start considering what their opportunities might be and consider what's out there so that they can start making informed decisions. So we explore the world of work, we talk about what their interests are, what are their strengths, what are their abilities, and then we investigate careers based on that student's interests and strengths and abilities. With job exploration counseling, there are many avenues that we take in order to explore careers. At DARS and at school, the Department of Education has purchased license to use Pathful, which is a platform, an online platform for career and college readiness. And at DARS, we also have access to Pathful. So that is a great way to start with that job exploration counseling and give students opportunities to explore careers, watch different videos based on careers of interest, complete an interest assessment to see, you know, what kind of careers their interest assessment points them to based on the way they respond to certain questions. So all kinds of different ways to do the job exploration counseling and really explore those interests. All right, and then let's see, let me stop real quick. Was there a question in the chat for that
Yeah.
one?
Yes, it was, can you spell the platform you just mentioned?
I can. It's pathful, like going on a path. PATHFUL. You have to have license to use it, and so if you have a DARS case and you're a student, then your DARS counselor can assign a pathful account or a pathful account to you, and you can explore there. Anything else on that one?
That was, it was answered and also typed in, so I think we got it.
Great, thank you. All right, so that was job exploration counseling. The next Pre-ETS activity we'll talk about work-based learning experiences. This one is the one that's a little bit different from all the other 4 Pre-ETS activities. Work-based learning experiences, or let me say, the other 4 Pre-ETS activities are usually done in the classroom. Those are exploratory options to do in the classroom. Work-based learning experiences, however, are best done in the community, out at real job sites, so that students can really make that connection between what they've been learning in the classroom and what that looks like in the world of work. So this is an educational approach to provide students with those knowledge and skills to connect those school experiences to real life work activities and future career opportunities. So this is actually going into the work site to see what it looks like, to hear what it sounds like, to see what it smells like, and you know, in some opportunities, even put their hands on some of the work tasks and see how they do and see how they like it. So these work-based learning experiences are a wide array of different opportunities that a student could do, all the way from something as simple as a work site tour or a job shadow opportunity, all the way through to a full-on 3 to 8 week work experience, maybe in the summertime. Having that first summer job supported by a skills trainer at an actual job, actually learning those work skills and applying in real time what they've been learning so far. So you see a list of examples there of all different types of work-based learning experiences, all the way through those work experiences that I mentioned. So it could be any opportunity where a student or group of students is out in the work site, checking it out, feeling it out, seeing what it actually looks like in real life. So that's work-based learning experiences. The third Pre-ETS activity, counseling on opportunities for enrolling in post-secondary education and training. So this is an opportunity to work with students to help them gain an awareness of all the different opportunities that are available for further education, higher education, after they complete their time in high school. So this could be done in many ways as well. This could be just academic and occupational counseling. And it could even be campus tours and visits to the admissions office, or getting connected with the disability services office at a higher education place. Or even, we don't do FAFSA for our clients, but we do give guidance on the process and get them connected to who can help them getting them connected to the financial aid office at the school that they may be going to, how to fill out those college applications, and what is the admissions process, and who do I talk to if I need accommodations to go to college or go to a training program or whatever the case may be. So all of those opportunities that we can get to counsel students and prepare them, open their eyes to what opportunities might be there in post-secondary education or training. A lot of the students that I have worked with in the past never saw themselves on a college campus until we actually, put them there and gave them a tour and showed them the different training areas on a campus, so they could see for themselves that it's not just about getting a 4-year degree at a college. It could be a training program where they get a certification at the end of it, and it could be a trade or skill that they're learning. So opening their eyes to all those opportunities that are available. All right, and then we have workplace readiness training. This is a big one. I try to squeeze it all on one slide, but there's so much more to it than this. This just gives you a nutshell of what workplace readiness training is. This is an opportunity to really lay a foundation with students to prepare them what is expected in the workplace. What do employers expect of them? What skills do they need to have in order to be successful, not just to gain employment, but also to maintain the employment once they have it. So these are the skills. This is getting them ready for the skills and behaviors that are necessary for any job. And when you think about it, not just a job, but life in general, these are the soft skills, employability skills, or job readiness skills that everybody needs. So you see some examples there of some of the things we go over, but not even just that. We're talking, we go over some financial literacy stuff that comes under workplace readiness training, travel training, preparing for getting a driver's permit could fall under workplace readiness training. So anything that you could think of that would be necessary for preparing someone to be successful in work. All right, so that finishes up workplace readiness training. And then finally, our 5th Pre-ETS activity is instruction and self-advocacy. So we know that students will express what they want and what they need a lot of times. But we talk about how to do that effectively and properly and politely, and thinking about advocating for yourself in the workplace. You need to know who is the person you need to go to. When is the appropriate time to advocate for yourself or request accommodations, or what are your rights and responsibilities? All those different things that someone needs to know to be successful in being self-determined and advocating for yourself and getting the things that you want, need, and desire by being appropriate about it. So that's the 5th Pre-ETS activity. And that is all 5. Do we have any questions on the 5 Pre-ETS activities before we go into the next piece? Okay. So I want you to think of DAR services as a continuum. Pre-employment transition services, or Pre-ETS, are just the beginning of what we do at DARS. Vocational rehabilitation is a continuum of services. So when you think of Pre-ETS, you think of exploration, informational, educational, right? And then as we get further into the continuum of DARS services, things get more intensive, things get more focused, things get more individualized. to the point where those vocational rehabilitation services come into play. So before I go into some further details, I want Becky to go ahead and share some DBVI specific information about pre-employment transition services. Go ahead, Becky.
Thank you, and I'm hoping that my video is coming through okay now. I was able to
I see it.
finagle something. Okay, good. All right. So I love working with Patti. I'm learning that she gives you all the meat and the potatoes, and I just get to kind of swing on in and say ditto. Because a lot of what she just expressed to you and shared with you, the Department for the Blind and Vision Impaired also provides for our blind, deaf-blind, and low vision students. So as far as we are concerned, we also serve individuals ages 14 to 22, and we run a number of different programs all throughout the year, just like Patti does with DARS, some concurrently with DARS. We have a 6-week summer program that we work with a program called Intellectual Point. It's just absolutely fantastic. Well, and another thing, Patti, that I love telling people is all these services are free, free. So we just really encourage our students, not just for DARS, but for us, try everything and anything that you can get your hands on. But I'll talk briefly about the summer program that we kind of do together. There's this past summer, there were 6 different programs, and this upcoming summer, I think they're setting their sights up high. I think there's 8 that they're hoping to propose to us. But with these, they're virtual, and each week you do something new. The first week this past summer, we sent a 3D printer. A brand new 3D printer in pieces, mind you, in pieces to our students. And they worked with the teacher to put this 3D printer together as a team. Everybody that was on there, if you struggled, they put you in a breakout room. They worked with you. They did everything possible to make sure that the students succeeded, which was pretty awesome. By the end of the week, they were programming the 3D computer and putting out projects. Another one that was their favorite out of the 6 was the gaming, build your own gaming computer. We had a lot of folks that wanted to try that one. So that's just one little snippet. So we really have 3 different kind of categories of programs that we run through DBVI. The first of which would be that virtual, and they're kind of sprinkled throughout the year. A lot of our programs we do just like Jeanette and Courtney are doing tonight. We want to work with you guys on your schedule, and we can't do it when the kids are in school, teenagers are in school, right? And we try not to do it throughout the school year. A lot of our programs are in the evenings or on weekends, but the majority of them happen during the summer. But one facet is the virtual. We also do just like Patti was talking about, we have a financial kind of virtual meeting. We call it Smart Money Matters. And we kind of talk about, I don't know if any of you are familiar with ABLE accounts. That's one of the things that we talk about. I was talking to a group today. If you don't know about them, look them up because they really can be beneficial for our students with disabilities, not just blind, low vision, or deafblind. That's one of them. We also do that, the Intellectual Point, cyber kind of warrior. They're called cyber warriors. And we're also going to be doing a new one this year. We're waiting to hear the final say on who our vendor is going to be, but we're also diving into career exploration in the arts careers, artistic careers this year. And that'll be, I think they're shooting for 5 weeks where they'll have one night a week where they get together and kind of explore and meet people in the field, in the artistic fields, and again, doing job exploration. Another facet that we have are family programs where we invite the family and the student to work with us. They're usually a weekend-long activity. To give you an example, we're working with the group called I'm Determined, which if you don't know who they are, put them on your radar. I should probably put these in the chat. They're fantastic resources. They are huge proponents of self-advocacy. And so we're working with them in March. And Patti, if I ramble, please stop me. But they are going to be working with us. Thank you, Courtney. In March for a weekend in Williamsburg, where we're going to kind of split the students up with the parents, and they're going to really push self-advocacy skills, and then talk about it. When we work with the parents, we kind of get a chance to, first of all, let them network with other parents, which is huge. And then, tell them how we, along with DARS in some cases, because we work with dual students that may have additional disabilities on top of blindness or low vision or deaf blindness. And then on the Sunday of that weekend, we go to Busch Gardens and put those skills into practice. So we throw all this career kind of stuff at the kiddos, but then we like to have fun along the way. We do a couple weekends like that throughout the year. One of them, we go to a hotel and we explore the hospitality business, where the teenagers get to explore not just the front desk. That's not the hotel itself. You've got banquet facilities, you've got the laundry facilities, you've got of course the front desk, but you've got sales and the business office. So we kind of take the students all throughout the hotel. This year they had them making little cinnamon buns in the banquet department. So some hands-on stuff while the parents are also getting educated. The beauty of these types of events is the kids sometimes meet each other for the first time and they realize, oh my gosh, I'm not alone. I'm not the only blind kid out there, or low vision or deaf blind, or again, with an additional disability. So that's huge in itself, but it also allows the parents to get involved with one another. So because where you might have one family that has jumped through many hoops to get the services that they need, they can kind of network with other fellow families and talk about their successes and how they got there. The last type of program that we kind of run is in person for just the student. To give you an example of that, we have James Madison University, where we have a college immersion program. It's a week long. Parents drop their kiddos off and we go from Sunday to Sunday. And in those days, we visit student services at JMU. We visit the library. We, of course, visit the dining hall, which the students that's probably the most thing that they love them every day. But they get to interact with instructors at the university, with students at the university. We even met the field hockey team this year and played field hockey with them. It was 100 degrees, but it was still fun. And so we even incorporated a visit to Blue Ridge Community College this past summer, because not every teen is going to want the university experience. They may want to start out with a community college experience. So that's another in-person event. This year we're going to be introducing Woodrow Wilson Workforce Center. We're going to tour the center there with our students and the families, because again, maybe the university path is not for everybody. They may want to work with a trade. I think, Patti, you touched a little bit on this as well. Now, I'm just touching on a few. I'm going to make sure I put in the chat our website, because within the next week or so, we're going to have our complete calendar on our website where you can click each event, and there's going to be a flyer kind of describing each event for you. The also great thing we have on our webpage is a universal application. So here you see maybe 20 plus programs on our website. I'm not interested in all of them, but I want to do some of them. So you don't have to fill out an application for each event. This universal application allows you to pick and choose. It's one and done. You fill out the application and you tick off whichever opportunities that you'd like to be involved in. So just throwing that out there. And we also have a form on there for frequently asked questions. And we just want to help you. And like with Jeanette and Courtney, we want to make sure we're doing a lot of the work for you. So if you think you're interested in our program, same thing with what Patti was saying. There's no wrong door as far as referrals are concerned. And if you're not sure, just reach out and we'll figure it out together. So how'd I do, Patti? Is that good?
Great, great. Thank you, Becky.
Nope.
That's great information. Does anybody have any questions for Becky about DBVI services before we wrap up here?
And I'll put that in the chat box. our information for our website.
And Becky, thank you again for bringing up the fact that these services are at no cost to families.
Yes.
Pre-employment transition services, to be clear, are at no cost to families. I need to add that to my presentation so I don't forget to say that. It's just, it's a no-brainer for me, but I know that not everybody knows that. So,
Well, some people always think that there's got to be a catch, but there's no
yeah, what's
catch.
the catch?
There's no catch.
All right, Jeanette, were there any questions before we move on to wrap up?
No, I didn't see any. Well, I won't say no. I don't see any in the chat.
Okay.
I will say that, Becky, that it really is. I hope that if there are participants now or who are able to see this in the future, do reach out because the programs they're incredible. And even some of they're not toys, they are tools, but some of the examples that you were able to show us the other week it really, really is phenomenal, the work that you're doing. So thank you so much.
Trying. We're small but mighty, just like Patty. We're we're
Right.
small part of a huge well, in her case, a huge organization. But we are definitely both mighty.
Yes, passionate about what we do.
Yeah.
All right. So real quick, just want to go over, you remember I said that pre-ETS are the first step in a continuum of services. So there may come a time when a student will need services to enhance what they're doing as far as preparing for the world of work that cannot be covered under pre-employment transition services, or should I say, maybe they are a cost service that that does not fall under pre-ETS. So I will say at any time, a person can apply for those adult vocational rehabilitation services if those services are deemed necessary. And all that takes is completing and signing that traditional DARS VR application. And then the counselor, the vocational rehabilitation counselor, will complete that eligibility and then provide services. A pre-ETS, a student receiving pre-ETS may also no longer receive pre-ETS once they age out of the qualifying age to participate in pre-ETS. So then they would either need to move on to a VR case or have their case closed out altogether. They could certainly move on and look for employment on their own and be successful in employment on their own without DARS support. However, if they ever find themselves in a position where they feel they need DARS support, they can always come back and apply for services at any time. Any questions about that, moving on from pre-ETS to VR?
There is one question. What's the age out age?
When
Is it
they
18?
age out of school services, when they're no longer participating in school services, so if they graduate from high school when they're done with 12th grade and they're done with school and they're out of there, they no longer qualify as a student with a disability, and then they can no longer receive pre-employment transition services. If they are a student who is staying in school and continuing to receive services until they age out of receiving services at school at the age of 21 or 22, depending on when their birthday falls, then they can certainly still participate in pre-employment transition services. So it's just a matter of whether they are still enrolled in school and whether they reach that maximum age of 21 to 22, depending on when their birthday falls in the year. Any other questions?
I'm still learning. Patty, is it also, if individuals are also enrolled in higher ed or any kind of training, they can still receive services? Is that
It
correct?
That is sort of correct. Yes. It can't just be any education or training. It has to be something that's going to end in a recognized credential. So if they are,
Thank you.
if they're pursuing an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree, and they're enrolled in an education program to achieve something like that, or a certification that's recognized in the industry, then yes, they do qualify as a student with a disability. But if they are taking a one-off class here and there, and there's no true recognized goal that they are after at that point, then that would not be considered a student with a disability or qualify to participate in Pre-ETS. Thank you for asking that, Becky.
Yes, ma'am.
That does get
Well, and just-
tricky.
Yeah, yeah. And I also wanted to throw out there, I'm glad you kind of started talking about VR. Uh, I just want to throw out there, I was having a conversation with a person today. When it comes to the Department for the Blind and Vision Impaired, we serve people basically from the cradle all the way to the end of life. So even if it's not, our conversation is pre-ETS tonight, but I often find when I have a conversation with somebody, they're like, oh, I know, my neighbor's son's having issues, or I had an uncle, or, somebody typically always has somebody that rings the bell. So we like letting people know that we're out there.
Yes, yes, absolutely. If a person's goal is employment, then send them our way and we'll figure out which case type they belong on. Let us figure that part out. But if their goal is employment, they need to come see us. Yeah. All right. So a couple things I want to share with you, and this is a QR code to the DARS Pre-ETS and VR Transition Services webpage. On this webpage, there is a contact form on there that you could fill out if you wanted more information about Pre-ETS or DARS services in general. We can get you, that will help us get you connected to your local DARS office and get your questions answered. Also on this webpage are the Pre-ETS flyer and that consent form that needs to be filled out and signed in order to participate in Pre-ETS. So all of that, and a short little video telling you in about 2.5 minutes everything that I just told you over the last 45 minutes. So there's that, and that's website. And then finally, I want to introduce you to our Transition Resource Hub. In Virginia, we were legislated to create a website for families and community partners to be able to access all things transition information. So DARS worked closely with VCU, and this website was born. It's simple. If you type in preets.org, you will get to this website. The whole URL is there on the screen, and also that QR code will take you there. But if you're typing something in, all you have to type in is preets.org, and it will redirect you right to this website. So lots of transition resources and information on this website. What questions do we have, Jeanette?
I was actually just going to say I appreciate the QR code and the website. I have referenced it a couple of times with families over the past, I think, 2 weeks since I learned about it. It is useful. It is, and user friendly. You all did a great job with designing that.
Thank you. We're still in talks with VCU. They're still under contract with us. It's not done yet. It's still being built out. So it's just in its baby phases right now. So be on the lookout for more information to be added to that resource hub over time. So that is it for the information that I brought to you this evening.
Thank you very much. And I do, before people leave, we have I'm going to find the link real quick. Multitasking sometimes is a little difficult. All right. Did I put it in there? Nope, I actually have to paste it. There we go. Okay. We have a Google Doc for additional presentations. And that is, so Patti, Becky, thank you so much. It really is, it's incredibly helpful, even for myself, because it's not what I do every day. This isn't what I do every day. So revisiting and listening and being able to provide information to students, to families, to colleagues is helpful to me. So we are very grateful to you both in providing this information for us and sharing and the resources. The link that I put in the chat is open to anyone who would like to give us feedback on future presentations so that we can continue to collaborate with community partners and have resources that are needed. This presentation is recorded. It'll take a little while just for the editing and uploading and all of those things. But this presentation will be on FACT's website. And there are other presentations, past ones that are there also. So we're thankful to you both, guests, and to everyone who came. Thank you for being here. Are there any other questions? Let's see, I'm going to check just real quick.
Just want to thank everybody for coming. I don't know if you can tell, but I love talking about this topic and I can talk about it all day long. So thank you for letting me come and talk about my passion. And thank you, Becky, for your additions.
Thank you all for allowing me to join in on the conversation. I'm very grateful. I know DBVI is very grateful. I am personally, but we as an organization are as well. So thank you. You know that everybody on here is trying to help. It takes a village.
Yeah, I've heard this. My name's Heather Coria. I work for Spotsylvania County Public Schools. I've heard a lot before in the past about DARS and Pre-ETS and DBVI, but just the opportunity to hear everybody, I always walk away with something new. And I'm like, oh, that's a cool new program that you have. I'm so excited you were able to share. So I really, really like what DBVI is providing for our kiddos, and just reminding us of all the neat things that are out there, because there is a lot. Just can you capture it and get it out to the kiddos and the families? So thank you for all that. We appreciate all you both do.
Thank you, Heather.
Thank you, Heather.
All right. Well, good night, everyone, and thank you again.